Hello everyone, welcome back. This is KJ4YZI. You're watching HamRadioConcepts, and what I have on my desk are two magnificent radios. The Icom IC-7610 and the Yaesu FTDX101D. Now what's happening in this video? You may be thinking, well, we're going to do a comparison. Well, not really. Let me preface this video with a couple things for a second. In case you didn't know this, there are more people that are more qualified than me to give you numbers about these radios. For instance, the Sherwood report, Rob Sherwood, is light years ahead of my education as far as IMDb and sensitivity and RMDR numbers and stuff like that. So the fact of the matter is this: while Sherwood may say this is like the most sensitive and highest quality receiver he's ever tested, the fact is the average ham doesn't understand what that means, including myself. So we don't have to be experts here. What that means is, in a laboratory theoretical environment, that performs with those specifications on this DX101. A great radio. This is a great radio. Brand new, just massive as far as features and just awesome. But those numbers should not hold you back from buying a radio. Okay? And what I mean is, if you're out there, if you're looking for your first HF rig, okay, and you're at the Sherwood website looking at those numbers before you buy your first radio, that's kind of the wrong way to go. Because when someone tells me that this DX101D is higher on the list on the Sherwood report than the 7610, and they tell me that if I don't understand what those numbers are, that I'm nothing more than an appliance operator, my answer to that is, those people that tell me I'm an appliance operator, I guarantee I can sit in front of either one of these radios and make dozens more of contacts than they ever have. Because a lot of those guys, they get wrapped up in those numbers. So the first thing I want you to know is, any ham should feel comfortable with their purchase and what they want to use as far as features, how the display looks, little bells and whistles on the front, the way the ergonomics are on the keypad, and stuff like that. The touchscreen, blind operators, connections on the back. Can you connect it to this or that amp or this computer? Those are the things that matter to me. I will take the judgment of Yaesu and Icom and Rob Sherwood to determine that these manufacturers know what they're doing when they build a radio. So let's target a different audience. Let's go to the audience that wants to know, well, they both look cool. They're about in the same price range, and they're both really nice looking. Which one do I want? Well, I'll let you make that decision. You can go on YouTube and you'll see several other people making videos about these radios, and they get real scientific. They talk about, direct sampling versus super heterodyne or hybrid, and IMDR or RMDR, and digital analog converters, and how many bits versus each one. But the average ham with a G5 RV or some kind of compromised wire antenna that's in their backyard 10 feet off the ground, with power lines that are creating noise and fluorescent light bulbs and their plasma TV, is not going to notice that much of a difference between one radio versus the other. So those numbers, while are probably most accurate in a laboratory, should not make your influence on buying a radio, unless the numbers are way off. I mean, yeah, let's get it. If you got a Chinese radio and the numbers are just crap, I get it. Something like this would be way better. But when you're talking about you want to buy one of these radios because your wife is going to let you spend the money, let's talk about the actual radios themselves, not the numbers that were tested in a laboratory. Because if I'm out there making contacts, I don't even think of those numbers. You get where I'm getting with this? Not a comparison. We're not going to flip a switch with a coax and see, is Rob Sherwood right? Is this thing way better with a weak signal? No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. And I'm not going to try to lie to you and tell you that I know what he's talking about. I'll trust the people that are on my channel watching that are way smarter than me. In the meantime, we'll start this video with the DX101D by Yaesu, the Icom IC-7610. I'll show you around both radio. We'll measure them, show you the displays, the connections, how the buttons are laid out, different things. I'm going to try my hardest not to say anything like, I like this, or this is cool, or this is better than that. I'm just going to show side by side. When I'm done, you make the decision. Go watch the other guy on YouTube that gets real technical. Take a little bit of my video, a little bit of his video, a couple other people's. Go to Josh, go to everybody else, and check and look and see what you want to buy. Don't listen to, your neighbor that says, well, the factor of this, blah, 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 is way better. Well, maybe you don't care. Maybe you like the way the Icom looks. Maybe you like that 3D waterfall on the Yaesu. That's what we're going to look at. And thank you to Gigaparts for letting me have like $10,000 worth of radios sitting right here on my desk, to the point where I had to move all my stuff over to make room. But without Gigaparts, I would have never had these in my hand to actually look at these side by side and play with them. And the first part of the video will show you. I'll start measuring, but look, let's say you're in an RV. Let's say you're an RVer, right? Here's the very first side by side. The Icom takes up a smaller footprint. Let's say you're concerned about the real estate. We'll measure these, but look at the size of the DX101 versus the IC-7610. Doesn't have anything to do with performance other than the case size when you're looking at this. And this is the kind of stuff I want to show you in this video. So right there off the bat, you can see which one is bigger, right? Do you live in your mom's basement? You got like 5 feet of square area right there and you don't want to have a huge radio? Well, there you can see the size of them. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Let's get into it. We'll turn them on. I got to disconnect my radios back there to hook these things up. And at the end, hopefully you made it that far. Leave a comment and leave a comment about what you think on my method here. Was this an effective method? Not going all technical. Was this an effective method on giving you information on each one side by side for you to make a decision? Leave me in the comments. Let me know. Maybe one day we'll have one of these to give away. That'll be awesome. Check it out. Icom 7610 and the Yaesu FTDX101D. Both radios have a brilliant 7-inch color TFT screen on the front, roughly 7 inches from corner to corner. So it's very easy to see for someone who is sort of vision impaired and they want a bigger screen. The size of the radios themselves, the FTDX101 is about 16.5 inches, while the IC-7610 is about 13.25, and the depth would be about 13 inches on the DX101 and about 11 inches on the Icom. Let's talk about the connections here for a second on the back of the radio. That's what means a lot to me, to see what I can interface and what connectivity I have for each radio. Yaesu on the left, Icom on the right. Both have a fan. Both have the same DC power in. The Yaesu has 3 SO239s, number 3 being labeled with a receive. So you could use number 3 as a receive-only antenna. The Icom has 2 SO239s, and your receive antenna could actually be on the BNC here, receive antenna in and out on the back here. Both of them have USB connectivity on the front and back, but the Icom has 2 USBs. One is a 3.0, one's a 2.0. Both of them have external display ports, DVI, one here, so you can hook up your external 50-inch screen or your external NEC monitor to see all that glory of both these radios on a huge screen above your shack. Why did they not use HDMI? Because there's more important things, not just slapping an HDMI. You talk about licensing and all kinds of licensing to have the HDMI port and logo on these radios. So they chose an option that is a universal option, not licensed to anybody, the DVI port, which is totally fine. Both of them have all your standard external ALC, your key jacks in the back, you have external meters, speaker outs, and all that. The Yaesu has your linear port here for your Quadra amplifier and a 13-pin accessory port here with some other for transmit, ground, and PTT. The Icom has ALC send, and it also has 2 accessory ports. One is a 7-pin, one's an 8-pin, and external meter and remote, external keypad, and key as well. One thing that's setting this off from the Icom versus the Yaesu, if you're into remote operation, the Icom does have the Ethernet port here, and the server is built into the radio. Simply using the Icom software, you can plug into this from a router to your radio, operate this remotely, change bands, operate HF away from home. The Yaesu, you have to have an external accessory to enable remote operation via Ethernet. So much stuff going on these screens, right? Well, let's take this one off here for a second. Nobody needs a screen protector on that. I might leave the one on the DX101 just because it's on there like factory tight, and I'm not going to take that off. But you can see right here the screen looks brilliant even with the screen protector on. That one was kind of wrinkled. Now these radios can be set up so very differently between the two of them, depending on what you like to see and how you operate it. For the most part, half the time, I don't even play with the bells and whistles and the filtering and stuff like that. So there's so many things to go involved. In fact, I have a video on each one of these by themselves But I never did go into all the functions on the 101D when I did the video because there's so many things. It'd just be a boring video, much like this 25 minutes you've already watched and haven't seen too much yet. So I get to talking too much. Anyways, obviously we both have a knob in the front. Now, the difference between the two is Yaesu's knob here, it's like a dual purpose or a multi-purpose knob on the front. For instance, you have, both of them have the nice weighted feel of a machined knob. But on the Yaesu, you have this secondary knob back here. And this can be used or assigned to several different things. Like fine tuning, you can coarse tune and you can fine tune, set it in for the, the clarifier or VC tune or whatever you want to set it to, okay? The Icom knob is just a standard knob by itself. The difference between also is that the Icom has that progressive tuning. The faster you roll that knob, the more of the step size or increment that it picks up on, okay? So for those who are dial spinners that really like to crank that thing, you could pretty much, if I go here to say 20 meters, I can really crank that thing. The faster, I can go slow like this. I can set the step size slow. Or I can really start cranking and look how fast it picks up. The Yaesu doesn't do that, but that's no problem. But in the same token here, the Yaesu has that outer multi-function knob, which a lot of people would use, for contesting. They find, oh, there it is, and they just jump back here. No need to go to clarifier, to touch the screen, to go to step size. It can all be done with one hand on the knob. The way that some of the basic functions are laid out, it seems that the Yaesu is everything can be done right-handed. I go scrolling, I find it, I tune it in, I turn the volume up like this, and away I go, The Icom has the volume and RF gain or squelch over here on the left, and it has the tuning on the right. No big deal. I could use a left hand and a right hand, that's fine. But for some people, they're really going as far as ergonomics and how fast I can go jumping bands when you're an extreme contester. If you're buying one of these radios, chances are you may be a big D-Expedition maniac, and seconds and contacts count. So maybe there's more going on the front of the radio here as far as filtering, contour, notch filtering, the mic levels here, different bands, coarse tune, VC tune, fine tune, main, sub band. You don't even have to go to the touch screen to change from main to sub, okay? You could do the same thing over here on the Icom, main and sub like this. But it seems that there's a few more buttons and a few more functions right here on the front of this radio on the 70 or the 101D than there is in the 7610. But for me, I don't really use too much as far as contesting. So you can, quick jump to bands like this, 30 meters, 15 meters, 17 meters, 17 meters. And then on the Yaesu, there's everything that's outlined in blue or, lit up in blue would be for your sub band. And everything that's in white would be for your main band. So if you see I'm in main, and then up top you can see there's a little white LED that would move as I jump bands here, okay? And that's main. And the arrow here is set up for, whatever tune I have that assigned for in the main. And then if I go to sub, now anything blue lit up. So I kind of see where my main and sub is. Okay, so if I wanted to go 40 meters and 17 meters, or let's say 15 meters, I can say, all right, got the contact on 40. Thanks, 7.3 going to 15. Boom. 1, 2, 3. Sub band. I tune it up. Away I go. Not a problem on the 7610. I can pretty much do the same thing with jumping bands like this, and I have my main and my sub on the same screen. Now you can set the radio up here, the 101D, with the same thing. I could have this set up so I have both main and sub on the screen, or you can have it set up like this where you have the spectrograph or the 3D waterfall and the audio waveform up here, or I could set it to where both main and sub are on the same screen, and I could even split the waterfall and have both on both of these. I can have my waterfall and pan adapter for main and sub receiver on the same screen, so you don't have to flip back and forth here, to different screens here for main and sub. You can have them split both. Okay, so I can go main and sub, or I can put them both on the screen at the same time. One very unique feature that sets this radio apart from the 7610 is the new VC tune, the variable capacitance tune. Think of it as a next generation pre-selector. The button over here, VC tune, okay? And you're going to use the outer ring here on this multifunction knob to basically, with a variable capacitor, instead of switching in with different relays, click, 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 you're kind of sweeping that pre-selector where you can eliminate all this noise or all these strong signals from this shortwave on this scope here. I'm always plagued with just huge signals on shortwave on 40 meters, and sometimes it's so bad it'll overload my whole waterfall, and it makes it hard to hear the weak station. Watch what happens when I turn the VC tune on, and how it'll automatically, I can manipulate that pre-selector on a really continuous sliding scale to where I can hear the station I want, and it rejects all this strong signal. Check this out.
India Bravo 2 Mike, India Bravo 2 Mike, India Bravo 2 Mike, Italy Bravo 2 Mike, Trumpet.
Whiskey Bravo 2 Mike, Hotel Juliet.
Bravo 2 Mike, Hotel 591002.
Roger, Roger, 59007. 59007.
Bravo 2 Mexico, Trumpet.
So you can kind of see how you could really mute a lot of this on the waterfall by turning on the VC tune. And then adjusting the VC tune here, you can kind of, you're only seeing the real strong signals here. Okay, but then of course you change the pre-selector every time you, where am I at now? I'm way up here. So there we go. Get a little arrow on top in your passband there, and you could kind of, and you can see how it changes on the scope here, right? So basically you're shaving off everything on the sides with that, but it's not a click, click, click. The Icom 7610 operates in that fashion. On the Icom, you can go into menu and turn on the Digi-Select, the digital pre-selector, which can happen simultaneously in both receivers at the same time. And you can go into multifunction knob, and there's your Digi-Select, and you can go steps like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 5 in each way, off in the middle. And I don't see that operating as efficiently as the VC tune. I was playing with it, and I don't see, unless there's other things that have to be coupled with it, I don't see it as effective as simply going to a VC tune on the Yaesu and starting to notch out some adjacent signals that are very strong. But the Digi-Select does exist in there for both bands simultaneously. You turn it on here. Here. And then I can go back over here, turn it on there as well. The Yaesu and the Icom both have the option of setting up a main waterfall with their spectral graph, the oscilloscope, and the audio frequency waveform, the same thing like on here. And they can be manipulated to the width or the level of the audio waveform and oscilloscope. Let's check out the menu layout on the Icom and the Yaesu. We'll start with the Icom. And the menu layout follows previous radios like the 7300 and 9700 with the icons, a little more picture type grouped icons for the menu, and multiple pages within. If you go to set, gives you several different groups of what you're looking for, and then it splits them up into different pages. Pretty neat to know that you have antenna assignments here, which can be had on the Yaesu as well, to assign different bands and different transmit and receive patterns to different antenna connectors. Also in the menu, easy enough to go right to your multifunction meter and see everything power output ALC, compression SWR, current, temperature, voltage, S meter, everything at one shot. And recording voice so that you can do voice transmit and not have to yell CQ all the time, and it can be saved to an SD card right in the front of the radio. Let's look at the menu on the FTDX101 here. If you go into function, you have a menu here which also gives you different options for changing the filtering, dynamic noise reduction, noise blanker, Vox, and more. But if you want some other operational settings, then you can click one of these buttons down here and go into another menu that gives you channel step and transmit audio, different things here for parametric equalizers for tailoring your transmit audio to your liking to make it sound the best that it possibly could, as well as receive digital signal processing for contour levels and widths and stuff like that. If we go back here, you also have other ones for display settings. So here's some more scope settings where you can have your scope center, if you want the carrier point or the filter, if you want different things for external monitor. A lot of this stuff is in the options. So both of them have a touchscreen style grouped menu that's both easily accessible on each radio. If I go in here in the radio setting, gives you some stuff about modes, sideband, AM, FM. You could change your AGC, your low cut and high cut frequencies. A lot of different ways of tailoring the settings, the filtering, the sounds, everything on this radio. More of a parametric equalizer on the DX101 than there is on the 7610. The Yaesu has the 3D waterfall, but if you're on 2D waterfall, or for 3D for that matter, if you go in the scope menu, you can change colors, but they're more of preset colors. Now, some people, and like myself, I like to have the colors that look best for me. So on the 7610, I have it set up with the orange with no fill or fill plus line, with the black behind the orange, no averaging on, or no peak hold. The Yaesu, you're limited to colors. So if you go to color here, I can change it to like this. We can go to 2D here. And I can change it like this, but the Icom really gives you a sense of being able to change it to different colors based on the mixture of colors. You know, if you want it a little bit of red, or you want it a little bit of, there's purple, or maybe you want a little bit of this to make it green. Turn this down. You can customize your color to make it really easy to see when you're watching the waterfall. Both radios are capable of PSK and RIDI decode mode. This is what they look like. There's the Yaesu, and haven't locked onto a signal yet because I'm just filming. But there is the decode for PSK on 20 meters on the DX101. Here's the PSK decode screen for the Icom 7610. Both of them have the option to line up the signal on the little spectral graph there, so you can align the digital signal, and both of them can be used with a keyboard and mouse to type the messages, to respond. PSK and RIDI right from the front of the radio without a computer even involved. I'll zoom in and give you a little bit of a close-up so you can see the waterfall in real time on each one of these for about 15 seconds. So if you're interested in the screen on one of these and you really want to see what you'd be looking at, again, they could be set up with different colors, multiple different meters on there, multiple different band scope or audio scope or waterfall, 2D, 3D. They all have their way of being set up, but I just want to show you each one, and quite frankly say that both of these radios are just spectacular. Some people say that they don't like the 3D waterfall, and some people say maybe it was a little bit of a gimmick. Some people say they'll never use the 3D waterfall. Some people say that's the future of waterfalls and pan adapters coming. And if you're new to ham radio and you're wondering, why is there a waterfall? Why is it such a big deal that we have a 3D waterfall on a 2D display? Well, waterfalls are really what help us and make us spoiled in ham radio to find signals. Those signals that you may not hear or you don't know were there, and you can scroll and listen to every frequency across the band, or you can look at a wide portion of the band on a screen like this and see multiple contacts or multiple stations at one time. and know exactly where the action is. And depending on how they're showing up in the waterfall, by the indicating the more powerful or more stronger signal, you know, based on how they show up on the screen. Are they a little tiny dot in that waterfall, or are they a real big column? That's how it would look with the 3D. This would be more of a useful 2D waterfall spectral graph like this, expanded. And again, you can scroll with the line on the radio, go back and forth, and line up your receiver with where the activity is. What did we ever do without a scope? Looking at the 7610 here. 7610 seems to have a very, very fluid motion on the screen. Either way, both of them have a SDR display, and the scope and the waterfall is being handled by software in the radio. One thing on the Icom that I read about on the 7610 is that they had some issues with screen burn in. So there's an option in there to turn the screen saver on, or have the screen go dark after X amount of time of it not being moved, or if it's on too long. But from what I understand as well, Icom is repairing all of them, even if they're out of warranty. If your screen has a burn-in issue, they have been pretty good at using a new style screen and send it in and get it repaired, even out of warranty. So some people have told me, well, no, you can't get that. It's immediately good. No good, no good. Well, that's some people's opinion, because maybe they didn't want to send it in to get their screen fixed. And although things can happen, you know, sometimes companies have a little bit of a boo-boo, but Icom's willing to fix it. So there is no reason to stay away from this because of the screen. If you have a model that has a screen issue, they will fix it. Such a lackluster video, right? My goal here, again, was, I didn't really mean it to be too long. And sometimes going through these radios, then I find something I never knew about, or something that I saw and didn't think that you'd be interested, but maybe you are. It's very hard to explain everything about each radio, and just to show you in general what they look like and what kind of features each one has in a nutshell to help you make your purchase. The moral of the story is, it's not easy doing this. And there are other YouTubers out there that you should check out as well, who have looked at a 7610, who have looked at a FTDX101. And then you can put all that together and make your own decision. I'd love to have an antenna up that I could have two identical antennas or A/B switch on one antenna, and pretty much show you the difference on which one is more powerful, or which one would really do you justice of finding that weak signal. But right now I'm limited with my antennas because of the hurricane. They all came down in preparation, and then now I can't put them back because I have other storms out there in the Atlantic, and just when I put them up with my bad shoulder, they'll come right back down. So unfortunately, these radios got to go back to Gigaparts. Thanks very much for letting me borrow them, but my time is up with them. So I hope you understand that it took the majority of hours during the day to bring you this, and I hope you enjoyed it. You got a little bit of an insight to each radio. Boy, they're both amazing. I'd like to have each one of them. Hopefully one day, one of these lands on my desk. I know which one I want on my desk. I know which one I like, but will I ever have it? I don't know. Am I going to get it? Who knows? But I'm just trying to keep it fair and showing both of these. Let you make your decision. 7-3, guys. Thanks for watching. More videos on the way. KJ4YZI.